You better say nice things about Canada, or they won't see your content. Hey, good people. Today we're taking a look at a controversial law in Canada that forces YouTubers to say nice things about Canada or risk having their content suppressed. The Online Streaming Act, commonly known as Bill C-11, was introduced in 2020 by Minister of Canadian Heritage Stephen Guilbeault. The point of this law is to deal with online content and digital media, which is these guys. The intention was to prioritize the needs and interests of Canadians and the inclusion and involvement of Canadians of diverse backgrounds in broadcast programming, as if all Canadians think and believe the same thing. It failed once, but was reintroduced with amendments as the Online Streaming Act and passed the House of Commons and came into effect in April 2023. But we don't judge a policy by its intentions, only its outcomes. Internet content creators now fall under the CRTC, which gives these unelected bureaucrats the power to impose conditions on their operations. Well, what does this look like? It includes compelling them to make use of Canadian talent, mandate that they spend their money in support of Canadian content, and being ordered to improve the discoverability of pro-Canada content on their platforms, which is a clever way of saying improve the discoverability of pro-Canada content at the cost of anti-Canada content. The bill removes the 7-year broadcasting licenses that used to apply to TV broadcasters. Why? Well, maybe it was kindness and benevolence on the part of the Canadian government. You know what, guys? That whole licensing thing, that was just revenue raising on our part. Or maybe it's because the licensing process allowed them to regulate the TV broadcasters, and so anybody who didn't have, need, or want a license fell outside the purview of the regulatory body. But it's probably the benevolence thing. Government officials project that mandating of participation in the CMF will net $86 million in additional funding each year. Oh, I see. The government saw YouTubers making a living, providing something to people that people willingly traded their money for, and went, hey, I want some of that. It's important to note that the Canadian politicians who introduced this bill stated that their intention was not to regulate YouTubers, but that it was to regulate commercial broadcasts that reappeared on YouTube, and therefore YouTube should be regulated in the same way. It sounds like copyright laws that already exist could solve this problem. If that doesn't make sense to you, here is Heritage Minister Pablo Rodriguez to explain it.
You had the chance to be more explicit, to ascribe in the intent of the writing of the bill a very clear intent not to tackle content creation, and you didn't take it.
Well, no, that amendment from the senators wasn't doing that. It was creating a loophole. For example, it would say that if you take a song, a commercial song, that would be captured on Spotify, and you put a background, then that song is not captured on YouTube. At the end of the day, it's the same song that you're listening to. So you have to be fair. If something is commercial and it's on social media, and it's exactly the same thing that is on, for example, Spotify, then it has to be captured in the same way, but not the content. I'm not interested in the content. We're only interested in knowing how much of that commercial is there, so you can then base what the platform will pay in terms of revenues based on that. That's it.
That still didn't make sense to you. Don't feel bad. It didn't make sense to anybody. So in order to address this intention and remove any doubt from content creators' minds that they wouldn't be regulated in a way that would destroy the success they had already created, an amendment was presented that specifically and clearly addressed this point and would solve the problem. And it was rejected. I wonder if they were lying about their intentions. Why should this matter to you? Well, if they can do it in a democratic country like Canada, can't they do it in yours? Yes. Yes, they can. Well, if you live in America, probably not. They have the First Amendment, and they actually settled this case way back before the internet was even a thing. There was a case called West Virginia State Board of Education v. Barnett, where the school tried to get a kid to swear allegiance to the flag, and when he told them to,
no,
like a good little patriot, they took that little troublemaker all the way to the Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court told the school
no,
because under the First Amendment, your speech and lack thereof is protected. You can't compel someone to say something. It's wrong. In summary, Canadian legacy media outlets pushed government to pass Bill C-11. Now that the Online Streaming Act is law, Canadian content creators will be regulated in the same way that TV broadcasters are. Content creators in Canada will have to produce pro-Canada content or risk having their content suppressed or even cop a monetary fine. If you live in Canada, your algorithm will no longer suggest things that you might like, it will soon suggest things that the government wants you to see. The alternative to this bill was just remove Bill C-10 and don't implement Bill C-11. This would have the effect of allowing content creators, be they on YouTube or on TV, to say and do and produce content as they see fit within the normal confines of private property and free speech. Didn't look like Canuck YouTubers were saying crazy stuff before this bill was introduced, so I think the internet would have been fine. But hey, what do I know? As always, there's plenty of interesting things in the bill that I didn't tell you about, so to that end, I've left links in the description below. If you didn't know about this bill, then please hit that thumb button. It tells me that there's one more well-educated citizen out there in this big wide world. If you want to tell me something, then comment below. I'll probably reply because I love this shit. Bye.